Well, they wasted no time at all giving Johnny Cueto the true Angels experience. A quality start in his Halos debut is absolutely wasted as the offense does just about nothing. We'll talk about a disappointing loss to the Royals on tonight's edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast right now.
You are Locked On Angels Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls. Hello, Postcast people, and welcome to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live, as always, after every single Angels game here on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel, and after the fact, wherever you get the Locked On Angels podcast feed. If you don't know who I am, I'm Gavin Carlson. I spent my last 4 years on planet Earth as a credentialed journalist in the LA area, and I am now, of course, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day and every evening after every single game here with these postcasts. Shout out to everybody in here as we will discuss another Angels loss. That's right. They really had us fooled a little bit. Yesterday looked really, really good. Huge performance, a lot of runs, a lot of hits, 5 extra base hits, 5 hits with runners in scoring position. Taylor Ward with his first triple in ages. Anthony Rendon, his first 2 RBI game in ages. A lot of miracles yesterday, but none today. Johnny Cueto makes his Angels debut, and despite being 38 years old, despite being on his 6th team in his MLB career, he looked pretty good. A quality start. He gives up just 3 runs, pitches over 6 innings, but he gets absolutely no help. The Angels offense returning to its abysmal ways in grand fashion. Just 4 hits, 1 hit in the last 6 innings of this ballgame. 1 hit. This game was really over after the top of the 3rd inning. I'll tell you why after I quickly tell you who the sponsor is of today's show. It is PrizePicks. The easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. On tonight's show, we will talk about the offense. We will talk about Cueto. We'll talk about my thoughts on a couple different things in this one. Questions about this team's playing for the future. Why in the world is a 38-year-old starting for this team? Another question is, why is he wearing Jared Weaver's number? Couple interesting conversations to be had, but we're going to start this one with the turning point. We've had a couple games in a row where there actually have been turning points, and this one was pretty early on in the first couple of innings. We know they do a great job on the Locked On Angels Daily podcast, the Super Halo Bros, talking about it. When this team is playing good teams like the Royals are a good team, it's all about who scores first. When the Angels score first, they play really well. Or if neither team scores early, then sometimes we'll have a late rally. But when the other team scores early, the Angels usually lose, and this was a perfect example. Johnny Cueto against his former team, a team that he really accomplished a lot with. In the Royals, they gave him a nice little ovation, and he immediately starts with a beautiful 5-pitch first inning, 1-2-3. But then in the bottom of the second, after he gets a great fielding play from Mickey Moniak on a Salvi Perez line drive, and then gets a ground out. He has 2 outs to start the bottom of the second, looking like he's going to have back-to-back 1-2-3 innings to start his Angels career. But no, a Hunter Renfroe single starts a big 2-out rally for the Royals. They ended up being the turning point in this game. Renfroe singles, Adam Frazier singles, then he walks Maikel Garcia, and then with the bases loaded and 2 outs, easily the biggest at-bat of the game. A pitch clock violation makes it 1-0, and then he throws a slider down and away with the bases loaded, 2 outs to Kyle Isbell, and Isbell rips it 102.1 exit velo into right center field. Joe Adell actually does a good job cutting it off and getting it back in, but the Royals were always going to score 2 runs on that one, and that made it 2-0. Now, obviously, when a game is 3-0, 2 runs being scored in 1 inning is a huge part of the turning point. But an even bigger part in this one is what the Angels did in the top of the 3rd, and this was just about it. Taylor Ward leads off with a strikeout, despite everyone claiming he's the greatest leadoff hitter of all time. But then we get a Zach Neto walk, a Nolan Schanuel single, and it's 1st and 3rd with 1 out for Anthony Rendon. Anthony got 2 RBIs yesterday. Is it time to give him the MVP trophy for actually playing baseball, Rendon? But what does he do? A first pitch pop out. First and third. 1 out. You're down 2. You just gave up 2 runs. You're trying to give some run support to a 38-year-old making his debut for your team. And in an obvious sac fly position with one of the highest paid players on the team, whose job is to just be a veteran hitter and at the very least have a sac fly here. How about a pop-up on the first pitch of the at-bat from Anthony Rendon? And from that point, it was just about over because then Logan O'Hoppe, now 2 outs, runners on the corners, hits a line out to the second baseman. Didn't lead, not a terrible at-bat, but obviously not good enough. And that was it because literally, like I said in the intro, the Angels have 1 hit, 1 base runner the remainder of the game. Innings 4 through 9, it's just a 1-out single from Joe Adell in the top of the 7th. That is it. Actually, there was a walk from Zach Neto as well, but the only hit in the final 6 innings, only 2 base runners in the final 6 innings, in a game that was close, in a game that you just needed to get 1 or 2 guys on and maybe hit an extra base hit and make this one interesting. A couple doubles, we've seen it in the past. Double in this game is something, but no, not tonight. The Angels absolutely roll over, and when it is a game like that, obviously the largest part of the criticism has to go to this lineup for doing absolutely nothing from innings 4 through 9. But how many times do I have to tell you, this is a momentum-based team, and when your veteran Anthony Rendon comes up with runners on the corners and 1 out and pops up on the first pitch, it wasn't a Kevin Pillar. Look at the difference. Kevin Pillar has a 14-pitch at-bat and still comes through with a sac fly. Rendon, if he gave me a 14-pitch at-bat and then got out, would I be mad? Absolutely not. If he gave me a 6-pitch at-bat, would I be mad? If he hit a deep fly ball that just wasn't quite deep enough, would I be mad? Maybe. But a pop-up on the first pitch of the at-bat? Brutal, ridiculous, and it set the tone. From then on out, the offense did absolutely nothing. So obviously that's got to be considered the turning point of this game. You give up 2 in the bottom of the second. You really should have scored at least 1 in the top of the third, and you do absolutely nothing after that. That really felt like the turning point in this one. I mean, Cueto was pretty darn good the rest of the game. Only gives up 1 more run in the bottom of the 6th inning via the big fly from the Royals. MJ Melendez hits one to right field, down the right field line, 367 feet, nothing crazy. He hit it really hard, 104.3 exit velo, and it wasn't a terrible pitch, a 1-1 changeup at the knees, maybe a little high. The moral of the story is Cueto's stuff at this point in his career is not crazy electric or anything like that, but despite that, you could see at times he is a professional pitcher, and I'm going to talk about it now, my thoughts on him even starting. Because it's I see it right here. Angels win says, wrong comment there. Angels win says, why not start a young pitcher instead of Cueto? It's a very valid question. If you watched the postcast, I think 2 days ago, I was ranting about why in the world does this Angels lineup have Taylor Ward leading off, but Nico Cavadas hitting cleanup, sending 2 very different messages. We're trying to win games and play veterans with Taylor Ward leading off, but we're also trying to plan for the future by having a guy who doesn't have a major league hit hitting cleanup. So you would probably think, well, Gavin, if you're going to be consistent in saying you need to prioritize the future, there's no way you're going to be okay with Johnny Cueto being called up and starting. I disagree, and I'll tell you why. If anything, this just perfectly shows the state of this rotation. This is not the Angels refusing to give young guys opportunities and instead saying Johnny Cueto is going to start for us and be, the third pitcher in the rotation. Come on, this is a rotation that has nobody. Let's not forget, we just put Jose Soriano on the IL. This team has 2 guys in the rotation that were supposed to be in this rotation coming into the year. Tyler Anderson and Griffin Canning. And oh yeah, Griffin Canning has like the 2nd worst ERA in all of baseball. So it's not like there's 5 guys in this rotation and all of a sudden we said, we're bringing in Johnny Cueto and sending guys down. No. Jack Kohanowitz has still been pitching. Davis Daniel has still been pitching. Carson Fulmer has still been starting games. Okay, this is not us saying we're taking opportunities away from other guys. This is us literally saying, we got nobody. We would love to see Jose Soriano starting. Heck, we'd love to see Patrick Sandoval starting. We'd love to see Reed Detmer starting. We'd love to see Chase Silseth starting. But we are not in a position where we can do that. These guys don't got arms right now. So we got to find somebody to pitch. I guess it's Johnny Cueto. You don't think we'd rather be a 20-year-old that can maybe be something in a couple years? But unless we're taking a guy out of AA and wait, we already did that. Let's not forget Jack Kwanowitz wasn't even a AAA pitcher, okay? So we've done about everything we can to have young guys have opportunities. But at the end of the day, you just need to feel the rotation. And too many guys are hurt. We've given a bunch of guys opportunities. Sometimes you just got to see a veteran play. Another thing I will say is I think it benefits some of these guys, a Kohanowitz, a Davis Daniel, who honestly, despite being 10, 15 years younger, kind of have similar level stuff to Johnny Cueto. Not throwing 95 miles an hour, not throwing 8 pitches, not throwing 98-mile-an-hour sinkers and all the stuff you want in 2024. How many times have I talked about Davis Daniel and Jack Kohanowitz throwing 93-mile-an-hour fastballs right down the middle, getting crushed? How many times have I said that Davis Daniel, the few times he's been successful is because he's a good pitcher, strategy-wise, not a great thrower. Johnny Cueto, maybe at one point in his career, was a good thrower. He was never a guy that was throwing 100 or anything like that. He's always been a pitcher first, and especially at this point in his career, the fact that he's able to have an outing like this one tonight, where he only gives up 3 runs, where if he doesn't give up a single double and a solo home run, we're talking about no runs being scored in this game. This is a great example of a guy that can find success despite not having crazy Ben Joyce level stuff. So I think it's almost beneficial to watch a start like this, to have guys like Kohanowitz and Davis Daniel watch this start. And one more thing I'll say before we take our first break here. We want games to be close. You know, if we called up some random guy to pitch and he gives up 8 runs in the first 2 innings, like we saw in Jack Kohanowitz's first couple of starts, like we've seen at times with Davis Daniel, like we saw with Zach Plesac, like we see with Griffin Canning, like we even saw to some degree yesterday with Tyler Anderson. If we're down 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, how valuable are the rest of the innings for the guys we're trying to develop, right? If Zach Neto or Logan O'Hoppe or Nolan Shanuel or Joe Adele or Mickey Moniak, any of these young guys, Nico Cavadas, I guess, Jack Lopez, I guess, is if any of these guys are coming up in a 2-run, even a game like this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's 3-0. Every single at-bat still matters in this game. And unfortunately today, it didn't look like it. But at least every at-bat mattered. If this game was 8-0 and we roll over and have one hit the final 6 innings of the game, you go, well, okay, you're down 8-0. Is the team even really trying at this point? Let's save guys for a game when it's closer. No, Johnny Cueto made this game close. So at the end of the day, what's more important to me? Watching a young 20-year-old start this game when he's not ready and maybe mess up his development and probably have a bad start and then make the game useless for the hitters as well? Or have an old guy like Cueto start, maybe show the young guys in the rotation a couple things, while also keeping the game close and letting these young hitters have meaningful at-bats. That's why I think I'm perfectly fine with starting Johnny Cueto. That was my opinion coming into this game. I was actually kind of excited. He's kind of a fun veteran to watch, and he also came through. Unfortunately, he got the true Angels experience of getting absolutely no run support. But that's my thoughts on the matter. We'll talk about the Jared Weaver number thing after this break. We'll also talk a little bit more in depth about the offense, Gavin's good, bad, and ugly. We'll get to your comments, all that and more here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. I'll be right back. Now, today's show is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Back here live, as always, after every single Angels game, even when they don't score any runs, even when they only have 4 hits, even when they only have 1 hit in the last 6 innings of this game. Back here live, as always. Shout out to everybody in here, and clearly you guys appreciate me as well. Love seeing some of the people I always see in here. Jeff, Angels win, Anaheim Angel, Futt Alex, Daniel Barry, and more. Appreciate the kind words from Angels win here, saying appreciate the work, Gavin, through a tough season. Anaheim Angel adding, thanks, Gavin, and everyone else here. No need to watch the game. I'm here for the real info. Appreciate all of you guys. And Anaheim Angel in this comment also says, Cueto is wearing Weaver's number. Ugh. Angels win with a similar sentiment. He says, giving Cueto Weaver's number is disrespectful. What's my thoughts on the matter? I probably agree. I mean, there's really no need. This is not, sometimes you see, say this was 5 years ago and you're signing Johnny Cueto and he's going to be a starting pitcher for the Angels for 5 years. Okay, maybe you consider giving him the number. We know the number is not retired. We know that I'm not blaming Johnny Cueto at all for this. He has the right to ask for whatever number he wants if it's available. But it does seem a little useless when this guy's going to maybe have 2 more starts for this team all year, if that. Who knows? The second Soriano comes back, Cueto might be back, off this team, right? Off this major league roster. So it seems a little silly that there's no need to force this, no need to put this number on Cueto. Just let him wear any other number. He's a veteran, you respect him, but you just kindly say, hey, Johnny Cueto, we want to keep this number special. I know it's not retired, so you have the right to ask for it, but we'd appreciate it if you wore anything else. We're giving you an opportunity to still be an MLB starting pitcher at 38 when you kind of don't have it anymore. I don't think he would have fought it and said, all right, well, I'm not starting for you, okay? So I agree with you guys. Seems a little silly, a little disrespectful, but not surprising from the Angels franchise to take something that seems like it's not the biggest deal and make it a big deal by just having no awareness. And just it's something that can easily be avoided, but leave it to this team and this franchise to not avoid it. We're used to it at this point. One more time, we'll talk about, I'll just quickly break down the pitching stats before we talk about the offense. We'll do Gavin's good, bad, and ugly right now in order to do that. The number one good is Johnny Cueto. Like I said, 6 1/3 innings pitched. He gives up 8 hits, okay? But the resilience, despite the hits he gives up, only 3 runs. They're all earned. He walks 2 guys, and he only has 1 strikeout. But I'm almost going to give him more credit because, like I was saying earlier, this guy does not have strikeout stuff in 2024. He doesn't even have weak contact stuff, really. But he was grinding, finding a way to be successful. Certainly looked a lot better than Griffin Canning. Certainly looked a lot better than Zach Plesac. Certainly looked a lot better than Davis Daniel and Jack Kohanowitz sometimes, right? So, got to give him his credit. First start of the year, first ever start on the Angels, and you go quality start over 6 innings. You give up 3 earned runs. I'm very satisfied with the start from Johnny Cueto. Roansy Contreras, the only other pitcher for the Angels tonight. He goes 1 2/3 innings. He has a walk, but he strikes out 3. Looked really good, to be honest. I mean, the Royals, they're sitting there going, this game is close. They're certainly still trying. And he made it look like they weren't. No hits, no hits, 1 walk, just 1 base runner. He strikes out 3, does a really good job. The Royals went 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position. The Angels 0 for 3. But yeah, the good, Johnny Cueto and Roansy Contreras. Unfortunately, no good on the Angels lineup, or in the Angels lineup. Zach Neto, the only guy to get on base twice tonight with 2 walks. He didn't have a hit, though. Taylor Ward, 1 single. Joe Adell, 1 single. Mickey Moniak, 1 single. Nolan Shanuel, 1 single. Other than that, Zach Neto with 2 walks. Logan O'Hoppe was walked once. That's it. But only 4 hits, only 3 walks, and 8 strikeouts. More strikeouts than base runners. Disappointing. So that's the bad. No goods on the lineup. That's the bad. And the ugly, I don't really know what the ugly is. Maybe it's Nico Cavadas because he still does not have a hit. 0 for 4 again tonight. 2 strikeouts. He's been brutal. I'm glad he's not hitting 4th. I have no idea why Anthony Rendon is hitting 4th. But that's the ugly. The entire Angels offense is the bad. Nico Cavadas is probably the ugly. In this one, Jack Lopez also doesn't have a hit as well. So ironic, the guys you call up have done absolutely nothing. I think Willie Calhoun could do better than that. I'm just saying. But yeah, just really not a good start or a good game for really anybody on the Angels other than Johnny Cueto and Roansy Contreras. And just one of those games where whether you're planning for the future or playing for now, you accomplish nothing. None of the young guys played well. The only guy that played well was Johnny Cueto, and he's certainly not a part of the future. So really, as there's motorcycles outside, there's really nothing that was accomplished today to be, hopeful for the future. And that's the number one goal at this point, other than avoiding that 100 loss. There's no way we're going to get there, right? You got to win 9 more games. 9 more games before you lose 27. Come on, you got to be able to do that. Please, please, for the love of God, do not get to 100 losses. The Angels are now back to 19 games under 500, sniffing 20 games under 500, still last in the AL West. So it's rough out here. It really is. After our last break, we'll read your comments and then let you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night. Look forward to the next series as the Angels do lose this one. We'll talk about what they have coming up in that road to avoid 100 losses. I'll be right back after this last break on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Finally, today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. Now, I got a question for you. What do you think of Caleb Williams? How good do you think he's going to be? I'll be honest, despite being a recent UCLA alum, a guy who covered UCLA football for 4 years, a guy who actually grew up rooting for UCLA football and hates USC with all my heart, I think Caleb Williams is pretty darn good. I'm not one of those guys who's all worried about, he paints his nails and blah, blah, blah. No, I think he's really good. All right. And so whether you think he's really good or not, it doesn't matter. With PrizePicks, one Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on PrizePicks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September with PrizePicks. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on PrizePicks because it's gone when September ends. If you don't know what PrizePicks is, it's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. That's right. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Sign up today and get $50 instantly. When you play $5, you don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So go. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB. You also get a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. There's all sorts of promos on PrizePicks. Run your game. Back here live one more time on Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. I'm Gavin Carlson. Angels lose again. They had a great game, a great showing yesterday, but they respond with the typical Angels stuff. No runs, just 4 hits. Only 1 hit, only 2 base runners in the last 6 innings of this game. This game, they rolled over. They fell asleep. They fell behind a couple runs early, and they didn't do anything to respond. We already talked about Johnny Cueto making his Angels debut, actually being pretty darn solid. We already talked about the lineup doing just about nothing. So we'll wrap this one up by going through your comments and then letting you enjoy your Wednesday night. Jeff starts us off, as always, saying, at least we won a game this series, and of course we got shut out tonight. Yep. Skylar says, I came into this game with no expectations. Once again, it's the same old habits. Offense going back to nothing. No situational hitting. Our baseball IQ is rock bottom. Cueto did look solid. Absolutely. I think the biggest thing there, no situational hitting. I know baseball's a hard sport, and hitting is the hardest part. And so maybe it's unfair to single out certain at-bats. But Anthony Rendon, you got to do something with a runner on third and 1 out. And when you don't, it sets up a bad vibe for the rest of the game. Jeff says, season has been this year. I don't know what you mean by that. I'm ready for them to be a good team again. I might have to wait a while. Yeah, hopefully not. Skylar says, if baseball was just about pitching, we would have won more games, but this team can't play a complete game consistently, and that angers me because I care about this team. I never mentioned anything about the umpires, but Mike Estabrook, has been terrible with the strike calls against us. Yeah, he has been. Jeff, it was so bad that he ejected one of our coaches. He was calling pitches outside the zone for strikes. Ohapi and Shanuel were hot. Yeah, but I agree. I totally agree. I want to see some of that anger and that passion towards the calls transfer to something on the field. Be hot about the fact that you got 4 hits the entire game. I want to see that a little bit more. Jeff says, again, with the shutout figures after last night, wow, I wish the umpires would have some accountability. Umpires suck. I talked with Pete about it on the Rams Chargers postcast, crossover postcast on Saturday. Also, humble plug, make sure you check out on Saturday, the Locked On Rams postcast. Back to just Rams, no crossover. I know some people were saying, just only give me the Rams, don't give me both. We're back to just the Rams this Saturday against the Texans. It might be Sunday. I got to check that, actually. But I will be back here. It is Saturday, Saturday morning. I'll be back here for the Locked On Rams postcast. Please join me as it's our last preseason game before we do postcasts for the regular season. Skylar says, the more I think about it, the more I realize this team can't read pitches. No wonder why we are striking out all the time. We don't recognize pitches and we have no approach. That's my theory. I agree. We already talked about the Cueto Weaver's number part. Jeff predicting a sweep at the hands of the Blue Jays. Just more appreciation for me doing this show, even though we stink. Anthony Jimenez, what's up? He says, it can't win if you can't score if you can't hit. Yep, agreed. We just can't hit the ball most of the time. What up, Daniel? What up, Fut Alex? But yeah, I mean, the moral of the story, the team's no good, and they looked really no good today. Who do we got coming up? We've got the Blue Jays 4-game series starting tomorrow, 4:07 first pitch in Toronto. So show will be at around 7 p.m. both tomorrow and Friday. Saturday, it's more of a day game. It's at noon. So I'll have back-to-back postcasts on Saturday. Rams postcast will be around 1 p.m., 1:30-ish. And then the Angels postcast will be around 2:30, 3-ish. So expect both of those Saturday. And then Sunday, Blue Jays, Angels at 10:37 a.m. So I should be on around 1:15-ish, depending on, of course, on how long the games take. Then we have Monday off, and then it's the Tigers in Detroit. With all that being said, we're going to wrap this one up pretty early. I mean, not much to talk about. The Angels really bad. They lose a series. They could have won a rubber match. You know what I said. The goal is to have an opportunity to win every series. That means winning one of the first 2 games. They did that. Unfortunately, they couldn't come through and win the rubber match. That's just about expected. But Alex will leave with this funny comment from him. He says, playing with the Angels in MLB The Show World Series right now versus the Dodgers in franchise mode. Well, hey, Fud Alex, it might be a video game, but go get a win for the Angels. We didn't see it in real life tonight. Might as well see it on MLB The Show. But with all that being said, I'm Gavin Carlson. Angels lose to the Royals 3-0 in Johnny Cueto's Angels debut. We'll be back here tomorrow evening as we head to Toronto. And as always, even after a disappointing loss like tonight, go Angels. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night, everybody.